All right, we are good to go. Natasha's given me the thumbs up. So before I start this meeting, I want to just cover a couple ground rules. This is a business meeting, so tonight we will be actually voting on issues. Unlike a workshop or a town hall where we don't vote on issues, we will be voting on issues tonight. We do have a period for public comment, and I do have two speaking slips. One is Lynn Coker, the other is Nancy Chester. And there's a couple ways that you can make a public comment. One is you can comment on a specific agenda item, or you can make your public comment as a general comment in the beginning, and it appears that both of these are general comments. One of the things that we won't be doing is a lot of times we will talk about passionate topics or subjects, and someone will raise their hand in the crowd and want me to call on them and ask them to come up to the podium and talk. We won't be doing that. So it's really important, if you want to make a public comment, that you fill out one of those slips and hand it to me, and we can follow that protocol. It really helps Natasha when you come up to the podium. Please state your name so that she can document that in our record. That's very helpful. So if anybody would like to make a public comment that hasn't filled out a form, please fill one out now and bring it up to me, and we'll get you on the list. When you do make your public comment, I would ask that you stick directly to the 3-minute period that you have. That's also very important. Jay has the controller here for the 3-minute period. There will be a light up there that will give you an indication of when you're approaching the end of your time. And I would also ask you to be, you don't have to be respectful to us. You can say bad things to us where we can take it, but please be respectful to staff. They work very hard to put these meetings on, and they work very hard throughout the day, so please be respectful. That in mind, we will start and open our Board of Commissioners meeting for February 22nd. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ted will now sing the national anthem.
All right, thank you, everyone. So item 2, amendment and approval of the agenda.
Chair, I have one amendment to the, actually two the amendments that I'd like to propose. The first one is, this one came to us last minute. The state is discussing the 110, reforming the 110, Measure 110, and with that reform, there's a package related to deflection, and so they're asking for this letter of commitment to be eligible to receive funds that would coordinate with this program. It doesn't commit us to the funds, but it gives us an opportunity to look at what those programs may be and provide some adequate funding to that. So it's really just we just need an approval, so we'd have to put it under discussion, probably discussion item C.
Measure 110.
It's, yeah, a letter of commitment for, the term is deflection programs. So I would ask that we add this to discussion action item C, and then
C under which one are you talking?
for 6, discussion action
6C?
item. Yep. And then I'd also like to pull from the consent agenda item M, the appointment of a LIPSIC member, and I'd like to put that under discussion action items as well for more discussion. So that would be D.
Okay. Okay, so I've got under 6, I've got C, Measure 110, and D, Lipsick. John, did you have one?
I do. I'd like to discuss meeting times.
Which one?
Will it be 6D, it'd be E, 6E, just a meeting. So Thursday nights I have a conflict
Okay.
on that.
Okay, so we'll put that E, and that will be BOC meeting times.
Okay.
And I have one, the county's finished negotiating with Wild Rivers Animal Rescue, and we have a contract that's satisfactory to both parties. I'd like to add that to the consent agenda.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll put that at F. And I know that's,
No, it's going to be consent.
on consent?
It could be an M.
You could take, you'd have that be M.
Okay, we'll move that to M,
Wild Rivers.
and that's approve the Wild Rivers contract.
Yep.
Okay.
You don't want that under discussion?
Well, I think it's, I mean, we worked through all the topics. We can go through it one by one, but I think that if people are interested in that, you could do a workshop down the road, but right
Well,
now we have-
I mean, during discussion of that, we can probably just get a quick brief on it,
Okay,
of consent. We can just get a
Yeah.
quick brief of the
Okay.
highlighted parts.
I mean, I know what, I get what you mean. I know what it is, and I can make my comments and commissioner comments, but,
Yeah, well, I mean,
We can
I'm sure
discuss
he
it
can
too.
give us the highlights.
yeah, okay.
we'll move it to discussion item.
No, you can leave it at M, but then when we go to second
Okay,
for further discussion, I'll just
Okay.
ask for a little bit of
Okay,
a
that sounds
highlight
good.
on that.
okay, that'll work. So we'll put it at M. All right, any more changes? Jay? All right then, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
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 And yes, motion passes 3-0. All right, we will move on to public comments. And Lynn, you are the first slip in front of me.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to come tonight. I have two comments that I want to make. and
Real,
this-
real
they-
quick, Lynn, for the public, can you say your name and address?
Yes,
for
it's
the record?
Lynn Coker, 29814 Turner Street, Gold Beach, Oregon.
Thanks, sir.
Two comments. The backdrop for the comments has to do with a series of meetings that are being held as open forums in homes and in libraries and places like that with the community relative to what they consider to be issues within the county. And one of the matters that has surfaced has been longstanding, which is the code enforcement officer. And what is unfolding yesterday and today is a bellwether moment. So thank you very much for having put all the work by staff and whoever else has been doing that. That's going to be quite a watershed event, I think, for many people. The second item is almost, you could say it's a nit, except for those who are involved with it. They're very passionate about it. And it has to do with night light ordinances. And it has to do with light pollution in some of our communities who really prefer and cherish the starry, starry sky, and it's gone. And so I've been asked to come tonight with some background on that matter. There was a request that was placed before the board and to staff back in November of 2023. It's gone dormant. The community hasn't heard anything back. So I'd like to leave this packet with Natasha, and you can look at it, assign it to staff as you might if you want to resurrect it, but at least follow up with either the signatory to the documents here or give me email. Let me know what the status is. If you're going to put it in the trash can, just let us know. But we need to get back to the folks if you could. And so thank you very much.
You can leave it right up here.
Okay. Yep, we'll take it, Lynn.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
And thanks for communicating the information that you're getting out in the community.
Appreciate it. Nancy?
Only got 2 copies, so you guys are gonna have to share.
That's okay, we keep Brad out. Oh, there you go.
Chair needs a copy.
Okay, my name's Nancy Chester, and if you need an address, it's 29493 Myrtle Lane, Gold Beach. And I'll just start off with, I worked for the county for approximately 15 years, started as a planning clerk, retired as a planner. I worked under several great directors, and they knew their job very well. Each one of them had a degree in planning or extensive knowledge and experience in land use planning. In my 15 years, we had one interim director, and that was Donald Rubenstein. He was an attorney at law. He had extensive experience in land use laws, but all conditional use permits were contracted to Lane County for final decisions. Mr. Fitzgerald is an attorney with his expertise in defamation of character and slander. I'm not aware of his qualifications as a planning director. As described in the county job description for this position, which is attachment A, it appears Mr. Fitzgerald is making decisions on conditional use permits as Curry County Community Development Director, as dated November 30th, 2023. On January 11th, he signed off a planning clearance as interim planning director. On our county website, it states that Ted Fitzgerald is planning director, community development director. It's attachment D. I'm certain Mr. Fitzgerald is aware that the state is mandated to have a qualified and certified planning director on staff, or the state has the authority to assume responsibility for land use decisions in the county. Mr. Fitzgerald was hired as county counsel, but is wearing several hats, which leaves me wondering where he has the expertise in such positions as planning director and roadmaster and other departments, whether it's interim or permanent. The community was advised that the reorganization of the road department has shown substantial savings. Each piece of equipment purchased by the road department had to be approved by the board and publicly noticed at on a BOC agenda. I was informed the city of Gold Beach purchased a couple of pieces of equipment at a great price. Can you please let us know what equipment was sold, how much it was sold for, where did the money go? How can equipment belonging to the road department be sold without public notice and the BOC approval? This must be the huge impact on finances which contributed to what the BOC claimed were savings of approximately $5 million. 2023 budget for Curry County, for the Curry County Council was $13,800 per month, $165,000 a year, but actually he's being paid approximately $213,000 a year. That's different of $47,000. It's a huge savings to the county, so that must mean that the other positions were never worth a 40-hour-a-week job, or the pay for these directors, the above departments, was significantly overpaid and a huge waste of the county money. My question to each of the commissioners is, how can you approve one person to perform the responsibilities of several departments? It's your responsibility.
Nancy, your time is up.
I have 2 paragraphs. It'll be one, just very shortly.
I'm going to give you 15 seconds, okay?
Okay. Then I'll just cut down here where it says, with these amounts that are being paid to the commissioners of $100,000 each, and it'll be pretty difficult for the community to support a levy while the county is paying over $500,000 for 4 executives to run the county, at the same time potentially putting the county in legal limbo without a qualified director, planning director. And one final statement is simply a friendly reminder that HB 2805 implemented in the beginning of 2024 has stricter accountability laws for government bodies in the state of Oregon regarding public meetings. So there was some that I missed because I was cut off, but it's all going to be in the record, I'm sure. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nancy.
And I'd like to just state for the record as well that one of the positions that Ms. Chester had left out was the Director of County Operations, overseeing all operations and department heads. So in the
Yep.
lieu of an absence of a department head, he is the default go-to for that role. So I just want to put that in the
But I
record.
think Nancy did get it right. A lot of those positions weren't full-time positions. They were a huge waste of money over many years, occupied by unqualified people, and we're remedying that. So we're making great headway on that, in fact.
Roadmaster and planning director?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, and there's some other information that Nancy mentioned that is not accurate. And I'll address that in commissioner comments at the end. So, thank you for that, Nancy. Now we'll move on to number 4, consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second, all in favor, say yes.
We were gonna do a little discussion, remember?
Oh, yeah, we want some discussion on that, I'm sorry. So, discussion.
Just a quick highlight on the contract.
So basically, we went through, we had the original contract with Wild Rivers, and it needed to be modified, and we ended up with what I felt was a reasonable increase and was acceptable to Wild Rivers as well as far as monthly fees. We worked out a few different things. One of the important things is that the county will be in charge of all the billing and the handling of the money, so Wild Rivers is just reduced to handling the animals, because they wanted to be separated from that, and I think that's gonna be really good for both parties. And the other thing is, we wanted to make sure that, as far as, the big thing was, we have to, with our role as the county providing animal services, animal control services, we have to make sure that all animals are accepted. And so that was probably the primary thing that we worked together on to reach consensus on. We got a good agreement. And there's really not too much else besides that. We're moving forward, and part of what we're doing, since we did dissolve code enforcement, we're sort of reinventing animal control, and we're learning as we go. And there's still a lot to learn on our end. So we're probably going to be looking at that code as different things have happened, and different situations have come up. Like we had the hearing where the piece of livestock was killed here recently, and so we worked through that. We realized that our code is pretty outdated. It was written in the 60s or the 70s. So we're going to look at modernizing our code and making it reflect Oregon statutes more directly. So I think that'll be good for everybody.
Perfect. I'm glad that we got that contract able to move forward, so.
Yeah, that
Good
was
work
very
on that.
time sensitive. What I wanted to say about that is that, Ted, you deserve a lot of credit for that. You do deserve a lot of credit for getting that over the finish line, and I know that required a lot of cooperation between Wild Rivers and you, and a lot of patience as well as you worked through and navigated through the language. And it's a well thought out contract, and just from my perspective, I appreciate the effort that you put in.
I also want to say the Wild Rivers attorney, Shell Haynes out of Eugene.
Yeah.
She was great.
Good.
Yep. But thank you for the extra effort that was put into that, and it's a really well thought out and good conclusion for everyone, I think. So,
Agreed.
any other discussion? So we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye?
Yes. Motion passes 3-0. Presentation, no, that's a different one here.
Yep. You got it right. Yep.
Is it? Presentation is next? Okay, critical records management.
Our county clerk.
Shelley Denny, County Clerk, and I'm just going to turn it over to co-file.
And
Hello, everyone. Am I coming through?
Boy, are ya.
boy, loud and clear. Natasha, can you turn that down just a touch?
Let me see here. I'm not sure if there's much I can do on my side.
No,
No, it's on our end.
Natasha, we got,
Okay, perfect.
Natasha, we need the remote.
Oh, she can turn it down in there. Go ahead, sir.
All right. If you need me to whisper, just let me know. I'm here to talk about microfilm and imaging and indexing with Curry County's clerk's office. This is officially an ARPA proposal, and I'm going to go through the genesis of the project as well as ARPA appropriateness in this presentation. If you have any questions, since I can't see anyone, please speak up and let me know. It'll be the only way that I know anybody has anything that they'd like to add to the conversation. So one of the things that CoFile does as a company is we work pretty much exclusively with county governments all across the country on their permanent records, and not every record set falls into the category of having a permanent record retention. Really, we're looking at the most important records in the county: land records, DD-214s, which are veterans records, vitals, and certain tax information, financial information. And as everyone in Curry County is probably very aware, there was a ransomware attack last year, and many of Curry County's digital files were permanently lost, along with their corresponding index data. And for the permanent records, this is very important because permanent records are vital to the function of the local government and many local businesses, as well as the local economy. So documents that are not imaged physically are located in the vault of the clerk, and it is at this point in time, if there are no images available in any kind of online platform, and if they're not indexed correctly, an employee is going to have to go into that vault to retrieve the physical object for them to be able to get information for the public. So if somebody needs to do a title search and find information in old deed records, currently staff would only be able to do that on site. Obviously, businesses and citizens of the county are going to need deed records fairly often for any kind of property changes. So protecting these vital records is hugely important. I mean, after all, we're here because the records were lost to a ransomware attack. But when we work nationally, we actually find that we're having incidences beyond just ransomware happening all the time. In fact, CoFile is contacted 3 to 4 times every single week by counties whose recorders or clerks have had water damage that has permanently damaged their records. That's 3 to 4 times every week, which means 200 to 300 times every year. There are only 3,000 some odd counties in the United States. So that means 1 in 10, typically speaking, is having some sort of incident. I have up here also a screen image from Hancock County, Georgia, which in August of 2014, the courthouse burned to the ground, and which was a total loss of all permanent records, real estate, court, vital, military, everything. And I bring these up because when we're talking about maintaining permanent records, we're really talking about the most vital form of disaster recovery. With land records specifically, land records contain information in them that really empowers our entire lending system. So the legal description in a deed record stipulates the location and the size of a property, which allows lenders to lend money without having to visit a property. And this might not seem like a big deal, but our entire economy is in fact grounded upon this. The information contained within the deeds is vital, and no one can really do without it. And all of these records are held locally at the county level, which many people don't know. So currently, after the ransomware attack, the permanent records that the county needs are located either A, in microfilm, or B, on CD. So this project, when we discovered that not all of the files were actually going to be available digitally, it grew into one where we're going to have to image this microfilm. And these pictures aren't great, but you can kind of see the form that they're in right here. Obviously, you're not going to be able to work through any information quickly in this form, and but the images are clear and are retrievable. And if we put them through imaging, we're going to be able to turn them into images like that, the one on the side right here, which are digital, very easy to read. But there are literally hundreds of thousands of these documents, which means potentially millions of images. And if we want to find information in these records, it's imperative that that information is indexed. Now, what's indexing? Indexing is pulling out the vital information that a person might search for in a system. And we have worked with Helion, who is the recording system for Curry County and other Oregon counties. And the information that we would pull out would be the instrument number, the date, the grantor, and the grantee. This information would allow people to use the Helion system to search for these documents. And this is of huge importance in being able to function as a modern clerk's office, because without this information, you're having to go to the physical books to look things up if it's a historic document. And if it's a modern one, well, it's going to be a long search indeed if you don't have a proper index that lists where this at. You're going to go and start looking through things chronologically, and it becomes a very tiresome, very, very difficult process, far from efficient. This is really the standard practice for nearly all offices that hold these records nationally. And the loss of that information is hugely important. After all, the initial indexing of 197,000 documents was a primary work of the clerk's office for many, many, many years. It took a long time to get there, and fixing this loss will require a great deal of work as well. Now, that's the bones of the project. Its ARPA appropriateness is easiest to discuss with regards to the NACO final ruling. Now, the National Association of Counties, which some of you might know as WIR, Western Interregional, they're the group that really wrote the ARPA legislation, and we've worked directly with them to verify that these kind of projects are in fact appropriate for ARPA funds. Now, ARPA was initially spent very quickly at the city level and at the state level because the rules for spending that money was very clear. It was not clear at the county level, which many of you might be well aware of, and it wasn't until this final ruling on April 1st of 2022 that counties were really able to start using their ARPA money. And a number of things in the final ruling really clarified for counties what was appropriate and what wasn't. A question I had before this from many was that they would go to county managers, would be telling people that they're not sure what was appropriate or not, so they were going to wait. And after this ruling, projects started to happen, and started to happen at a very rapid pace. Now, if we look at one specific part of the NACO final ruling, and I'm happy to circulate this document to anyone who hasn't seen it, is they really stipulate in here that ARPA funds are about government services. We've been told by the people who wrote the legislation that they're anticipating that up to 20% of all ARPA funding would go towards government services. And technology infrastructure, this section right here, to improve access to and user experience of government IT systems, is 100% stipulating the use of systems like Helion. So for the information to be put into that system, it must be imaged, it must be indexed. In fact, and in this sense, it's pretty much an open and shut case when it comes to the ARPA appropriateness of these kinds of projects. CoFile has done many, many projects, and there are over 200 projects that I am aware of personally that have been completed nationally that have nearly the exact same scope as this one using ARPA funding. So I have some slides here that we can go through if people would like to. These are in the NACO final ruling, and they stipulate what you can't use ARPA funding for. And they're fairly banal. If we'd like to return to them, we can. If people would like to see the PDF and look through it themselves, they're welcome to. But the rules for not using ARPA funds are very, very clear, and none of these will be against using them for imaging and indexing projects. So just to kind of sum up, ARPA, in its purest sense, was intended to replace public sector revenue, and government services are an important part of that. Access of documents during a health emergency or any emergency requires that people might probably have to access these documents while working abroad, while not in the office. Currently, that's an impossibility for the Curry County clerk. If these, if statute and if the offices want to host these online, they can allow for citizens to access them abroad as well, which will reduce foot traffic into the office. And I think most importantly, from an ARPA perspective, these are foundational to disaster recovery. Were there to be a natural disaster, were there to be another ransomware attack, a proper backup with proper indexing would make the county more resilient. Last thing I'll leave you with before opening up to questions, this is just a partial list of counties we've done ARPA projects with, all of which have involved imaging and indexing. If there are any questions, I'm happy to field them.
So, yeah, Shelley, maybe you can also. So, how do we access ARPA funds? Do we access them currently?
It's American Rescue Plan, right?
Right.
It's just like.
Oh, it's our
ARP.
previous ARP funds,
It's
which
what we dedicated to the cyber attack.
right. And so I guess then the question would be, do we have any ARPA funds left over from the cyber attack that can be allocated towards this project?
We do. I'm not sure of the amount, but this is probably one of the most, I mean, we had to dedicate as much as we could to the IT infrastructure itself, but
Well, this is
this is a
collateral damage of the.
Yeah, this is a fundamental, as he said, there's nothing more fundamental than property records in our system of government, and indeed in almost every system of government. So.
Yeah, to me, this is one of those anticipated costs that came with the cyber attack that we discussed and addressed through the ARP money and setting that aside and what we can. There's a lot of anticipated costs that came with that cyber attack from multiple places, including IT, which had to do with, you know, the systems and the firewalls and the servers and all that stuff that we've had to pay for, and using that money was thankful that we had it. But yes, this would be, in my opinion, included in that category of spending.
Well, and Patrick only spoke about the land records, but, you know, the Commissioner's Journal records, those were impacted.
Yeah.
Marriage licenses, you know, just the whole clerk's office.
Yes, and I could have focused on any of these record sets, and all of them are essential to just the functioning of the office. And we've used ARPA funds on every single one of them. Yeah, I focused in on land records just because their use is so clear, but the others are equally essential.
Go ahead, John.
So just in my little scope of dealing, so I'm on the BOPTA board, and David Griffith's on the BOPTA board, and he's a county, or not just a personal, what is he, appraiser?
An appraiser.
And so, you know, we had a BOPTA meeting, and Shelley was there, and so he was asking questions after the meeting. I need to get title information and all this stuff, and what took minutes is now days, and possibly a week or more, and everybody wants it, and we don't have any people. And, you know, so you know, they basically told him, Dave, you can come over and go through that microfilm. So we got to get this up and running. And
Well, and just to give you an idea of how long some of this stuff has been taking, so the clerk's office went computerized in April of 1992, and anything prior to 92 was not digitized. We have the old deed records, and so back in 2000, we took our books from 1856 to the 1992 and did have them digitized, and we're in the process and almost done with those books when this happened. So we're, you know, having to rebuild that whole thing. So it's like 28 years of my life that I put, you know, hard work into is gone.
Yes, and when it comes to digitizing those old books, one of the things I didn't really focus on it, but one of the things that makes CoFile unique is we are really the only company nationally that does the preservation work for the old records, and that's how we know Shelley in the clerk's office. We've done the physical preservation of those books, but the unique thing about land records is that a chain of title really isn't complete unless it's taken to the founding of the county. It's the thing that prevents us from being in a situation which you find in some parts of the world, where a judge is the one who determines ownership because every record validates the ones that come after. The greatest danger I've seen in the counties I've worked with that have undergone cyber attacks when it comes to property records and recovering from it is the fact that until they have them digitized and indexed, it's not just how long it takes to get the records, it's the fact that that chain of title sometimes becomes impossible for them to recreate, or so timely that they can't do so in a feasible amount of time for people to be able to really know for certain that they have all their ducks in a row. So it is the case that that chain of title, which is one of the great inheritances of American local government, it's just really not possible to do the work to the level necessary without all of that stuff available.
So would next steps be that we kind of receive a proposal in terms of a bid from CoFile and be able to examine that bid? Is that the next, would be our next?
You, in the packet, there was already a bid that I got to get us only up to date from 2008 to April of 2023. And that was $254,000.
And is there a subsequent bid that could get us back even further?
Yeah, Patrick has all our information, and I think he was going to put together another bid going back as far a little bit further, just to give you an idea of what it's going to cost.
Sure. I mean, I think it would be good to see kind of what it would look like to get back, as far as we financially can, and get off on the right foot.
So what I'd like to see is what those options are, and then we'll get with Keena and see where we stand with the ARP funds that we set aside for the cyber attack, because they have been being used for all of the things that have come with the cyber attack, and see where we stand on where those balances are, and then what the options are here. And then we also need to hear from Ted what the anticipated, because we have more anticipated costs that have come as a result of the cyber attack, and see what the horizon looks like with those anticipated costs as well, and then make the decision.
And just for an update too, you did approve 3 irregular part-time employees that have just started to come in to help the process. But they're less than 20 hours a week, but at least it's something.
Right.
Yeah. So once we have that information, I think we can make a pretty good decision based on all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'm happy to come out as well. Part of my job is my background is I'm an 18th century British literature professor, and I've specialized in archival studies for decades. So I know the old books. Part of what I do for CoFile is I will visit, and especially if this moves into the digitization of historic records, I'll need to lay eyes on them to see exactly what kind of shape that they're in, because those are completely different can of worms than microfilm or modern records. And that's something that CoFile, that we don't charge for. That's just something I'm doing pretty much as part of my normal work day. And I'd be happy to come out and do that.
Well, yeah, and that's part of the problem too, is some of those older books are in cursive, and finding anybody that now can read cursive is another matter.
Yeah, I think we have all of them. They work in a warehouse in Dallas, Texas.
People don't know how to read cursive?
No.
Oh no.
I
Yeah, if you
don't
know
teach it
anybody
in
who
school.
does, send them our way. Yeah, it's a lost art.
My daughter does. Yeah, I do.
All right, I think we can put that information together, Shelley, and then come up with a pretty good spending plan there.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I got
Oh,
a
John?
little discussion, Brad. We got a project overview and a number right now. Is time of the essence, Shelley, or?
It's already been a year, so.
We've been making the best of it, but the thing is that every action that the clerk's office is taking right now is more expensive than it needs to be. It's inefficient, because they have no choice but to do it by hand. And this also, when we're talking about land records, each one of people don't, people need to be aware that if, in many cases, if there's a complex title issue going on, that could definitely affect the sale of your home, or anything that you're trying to do with a zoning or planning change. Any of those things could really impact it. And in some cases, I mean, people walk away from, you'll have a bank walk away because they're like, well, we can go to a place where they actually know who owns the property, a different jurisdiction.
And
It's important.
and I kind of I'm seeing where you want to go.
Yeah,
but,
just get them
well,
coming out here.
Well, but I think what I'd like to do is at least first have Keena be able to identify how much ARPA funds we have left, so that if there's a room to go back even a little bit further, I'd like to do that as opposed to separate contracts for that service.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get it all done right.
Because we're not going to get another bid or another. I mean, Patrick's got this is Co-File is going to do it, right? Is that?
I will be getting another bid from Patrick.
Right, but I mean, this is the company that we're going to use. So, I get
Yes.
this. Okay.
There are other companies out there, but their work output is not
They don't read cursive.
not good, not great.
The differentiator between us and the others is we employ anywhere between 600 and 1,000 people, and we've been around since, well, in some form or another, since at least the 60s, and you can take some of the companies that make us back. We are all the old regional binderies that actually produced all the old books in the offices that came together about 15 years ago. And we still are the only producer of all of the binders that these offices use. We've been around for a very long time. And most of the other companies that do any kind of digitization work, they're going to specialize in 8.5 by 11 modern documents. When it comes to county offices, it's all we do. And there's a reason why we've kind of become the company that we have, almost operating as a utility to some extent. And it's because this work, once you start working with this stuff, the liability goes through the roof and the difficulty and complexity increases exponentially. So we have state contracts that can speed up the purchasing process. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of what we end up working on, we do sole source. And we do very large projects that way. I'm happy to go through any of that stuff with you if you'd like. But there's we have the long-standing kind of relationships, contracts, and whatnot to I think justify being able to move quickly in these kind of scenarios too, where it's directly impacting the operation of the office and the local economy. ARPA will allow you to move a little bit quicker, especially depending upon budgetary numbers.
Patrick, do you have a state contract with Oregon?
We work with Omnia Partners is what we usually use there.
Okay. Because that will help with the procurement process. We do have those procurement rules. So, okay.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right, sounds like we need just a little more information and we can move forward. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you, Patrick.
Hey, thank you all. If there are no more questions, I will pop off. But if there are any questions that you guys think of afterwards, please feel free to reach out.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now
Good job on the volume there, Natasha.
we will move forward to discussion action items now. Top of that list is Lobster Creek Generator. Ted, is that your presentation?
Yes, and so Bob's Creek Generator went out. It's been in place for something like that's all you need. Something like 6 or 7 years, I want to say, Jay, this last one.
We put that generator in 2017. I want to say it was right in that range.
Okay, so and it was propane fueled,
Correct.
and I think it threw a rod. It's unfixable.
I think it was a little bit too small.
Yeah, and so basically it was, from what we understand, it was just kind of working at maximum revs all the time, and there's a big draw on it, and that may have had something to do with it. So we're going to replace it, and we're going to try to size up a little bit so it can better handle the requirements up there at Lobster Creek, and so this is the one we found here.
Now, I know the road department was looking at one for Grizzly Mountain for the tower, but they were going to have to hold off on that. Is this similar situation or similar generator?
It's similar to it. This one will work. It's as I recall, yeah, it's very similar to it.
Okay.
They're going to hold off on that for now, but we can go forward with this and get Lobster Creek up and running. I think we'll be in good shape.
It would definitely needs to get up and running because that well will not charge without power. So I will move to approve the purchase of the Lobster Creek generator.
I'll second that motion.
So a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None? Then all in favor say yes.
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 And yes, motion passes 3-0. Next up is item B, contract for land use planning services. Ted, that's you.
Yes, in accordance with some of the earlier comments tonight, we are in need of professional planning services. I've been searching for those since I was forced to take the interim position of planning director, a position that I do not covet and hope to not occupy going forward. So to that end, we've reached out and we found, to start our first, we've located a planner with that will be able to come in and we've contracted with him outside. He won't be a county employee per se. He'll be contracting these services, and we'll be able to send out for plan review to somebody who's qualified with the correct schooling and so forth. I've been doing the best I can, reaching out to. I've been working with DLCD and other professionals to help me because it certainly isn't my area of expertise. But I do want to just clarify, my area of expertise in the law is not defamation. Apparently, whoever researched that, their area of expertise is not research. So I do business and estates primarily, and the reason that I'm in this position as director of county operations is because of my business background. So maybe that'll clarify things to the public. You generally don't want to have a lawyer run your business. So not just like you don't want to have your accountant run your business. You want to have a business person run your business. So you can take advice from those people, but that's what they should be doing.
Is this who's the individual?
So the guy that we're going to be contracting with is named Zach Moody. He works with the city of Phoenix right now, and he'll be able to handle this stuff. We're going to try a 6-month contract with him and see how it shakes out. And if we need to contract for additional services, we also already have an arrangement with Lane Council of Governments. They also provide planning services, so we have a lot of options.
Okay.
And this kind of along the same lines as animal services. In being forced into this position, I've been able to discover quite a bit that was lacking in our planning department, and we're addressing that now. So this is a good first step.
And he knows Scott Fine and our county surveyor and.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that.
Yeah,
that's
he
a
works
good-
together, and they also have other resources that they reach out to as well. But Scott had worked with him
Yep, he said-
prior to that, so I was able to use him as a reference.
Yes, I think Scott spoke very
Yep.
highly of
Yeah.
this individual. So look forward to bringing on that level of that caliber of an individual into our team. So I will move to approve the contract for land use planning services.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 And yes, motion passes 3-0. So next up is Measure 110 funds.
Yeah.
This is the potential, I wouldn't say application, but it's,
It's a letter of commitment. And so, essentially, it's Measure 4002, House Bill 4002, which is the adjustments to 110, reformation of 110. And so, along with our signatures, it'll also require the signature of the district attorney and the sheriff. And I got some instructions on how to get this off by tomorrow.
this is time sensitive, which is why we're.
It's due by tomorrow, and we just got notified about it earlier this week. So was unable to make it onto the agenda due to the emergent need of it. However, I think it requires our attention. And again, this does not commit us to any action or fund receiving the funds, but it'll make us eligible to receive these funds.
And some of those funds may have strings attached to it that we might not be able to accommodate. Some of those funds might be directed at things that won't have an impact on public safety. And I don't know what your thoughts are, Jay, but probably this is something that should also be reviewed by Lipsick.
When I was initially reading it, it felt like it was a natural fit for a Lipsick recommendation. Should we utilize these funds? We'll have to see how the measure is written, but that it seems like the appropriate forum to identify how these funds are spent.
Okay. So I'd be in favor of that, with the understanding that we're not accepting anything, we're just meeting the timelines, and we would be putting this forward to Lipsick to get their opinions and review and recommendations on moving forward with it.
Okay. So there's a couple of steps. It has to be put onto our county letterhead, signatures attached, and then I think we just send it off. So
Okay.
if everybody's in agreement, we'll just move forward with that.
Yep.
Okay.
We need a motion for it, or we just do it?
I think it's a consensus.
Okay. All right. Sounds like we have a consensus.
And then D.
And so no further discussion, John? All right, so we'll move to D, which is the Lipsick appointment.
So I pulled this one. I pulled this appointment off of the consent calendar because, number one, having been prior member of Lipsick, I understand the vital nature of what it accomplishes, the sensitive nature of the topics that are discussed. Oftentimes, those are discussions around youth, crimes against youth, et cetera, on those. And so when we are identifying the single lay member position, so how it's laid out is it's an ORS, and there's identified positions that we shall have. And this is Lipsick is convened by the Board of Commissioners. So so we convene that group. And so it's everything from the sheriff to police chief to district attorney, a judge identified by our regional jurisdiction, community mental health director, public health director, et cetera.
Yep.
Yep, juvenile director. And then there's a position for one lay member citizen. And so how I interpret that is that should be a citizen of Curry County in which the Lipsick group is presiding over. And the individual who applied for this position does not reside in Curry County, they reside in Coos County. And so I felt like if we're going to be appointing a lay member to this group, they should reside in our county and represent our citizens as the lay member citizen. And also I would really advise that we look for somebody who's going to add value to that council as a lay member citizen from our county. Somebody who may have a background in law enforcement, but is now a citizen, something of that nature. But having a say on that committee is a really big responsibility. And so I feel like if anybody's going to be advocating on behalf of the citizens, it needs to be somebody from Curry County.
Agreed.
So I called, I'm on the Lipsick committee, as you know, and I called Lieutenant Denny about this very fact, which was that the applicant was not from Curry County. And I also recognize that we have the community has some very critical decisions to make regarding public safety that are coming up. We're offering a funding solution that will address some of the funding issues that our public safety is facing, and we really need to hear community input right now. We really need. I'm going to go back to Ashley Moore, who we had a problem, and here's a community member that came forward with a solution to that problem, and really was impactful and added a lot of value to solving that. And that's what we need right now. And the only way that we're going to get that is from someone who lives in Curry County and someone who is intimately familiar with the public safety needs of Curry County. So that's the problem that I had with this application. And I think having somebody from Curry County would better serve that committee and those decisions.
Agree.
So I would hope that we would get more applications for that to be considered before approving.
And hopefully we will.
Yes.
Hopefully some people will see this. And I think we should involve the PIO to get that message out there.
Put out some information.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep. All right. Well, I would agree with you, Jay.
Good pull.
Any further discussion on that issue?
No, sir.
All right, John, BOC meeting times. Do you have a conflict that
I do on
we need to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I do have a conflict. So every Thursday night is church, and I'm missing church, and I just feel like we can move this meeting somewhere, somehow.
Do you have a suggestion?
Well, I was thinking, so we moved, we went from morning meetings to night meetings. Could we do a night meeting and a morning meeting, or a midday, or even if we started at 4 o'clock, or, because church is at 6:30, so if I can get back to Brookings by 6:30, I'm golden. So that's, I don't mind being on Thursday, it's just the timing. And I like that we're gonna move it around. I think that's, we should, to all three towns. But we went from day meeting, or morning meetings specifically, to night meetings, and we could have a mix, because you're definitely gonna have different folks come to different meetings.
I just want to really make sure that we're meeting the needs of the community, and we're making these meeting times available to people who work and people who otherwise haven't been able to attend meetings in the past. I don't know about, I mean, I'm open to other days, I'm open to suggestions. But the first priority is to meet the needs of the public.
But Brad, I've heard too, so we do have an older population. And, the night meetings, if you're coming from Brookings or Port Orford, especially this time of year, it's getting better. We're getting a minute every day, but, so I think, I think to have a mix would be, I'm open either way, you guys know that. And we did move it for a conflict, and I should have spoke up, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, I take responsibility from moving it from the Wednesday night to the Thursday night. I think that the question on the table is if we're going to keep it at night, then what day? If we're going to be moving it into the afternoon or during a different time of the day, then we could certainly just do the Wednesday thing, most
Right.
likely. I have school board meetings the third Wednesday at 5:30. And so that would be the other option. So, I mean, I do see the value of having these in the evening. It does afford the opportunity for everyone to be able to attend, whether you're working.
But John does have a point. There are people that are limited in driving it
At night.
at night and so forth. It's, you might think about, I mean, we've had enough meetings to see what the, what the actual draw is, people who come. And, it seems to be issue specific.
Certainly.
Might be something that you might want to, maybe you could meet in the middle and do a day meeting and see what happens.
Well,
Just moving around, you could be, nothing the matter with being flexible.
I actually have gotten some public comment about moving the days around a little bit too, and having a Thursday instead of a Wednesday. Sometimes that works better for people. And some people can't make a Wednesday, but they can make a Thursday. So I like having an offset day there. I like that. I like that option. And we have been very open to accommodate the needs of the public by, if we have a Brookings-specific issue, we go to Brookings. If we have a Port Orford issue, we go to Port Orford. And we will continue to do that. So I think we can also adjust our times as needed. I would think if we're going to make the adjustment to times, it would be better to keep the Thursday but change the time.
Okay.
I would think that would be more accommodating to, at least from the feedback I've been getting about the meetings.
Okay.
So that sounds good, and I'm thinking, if we had it at 4 or 4:30, I think we're good.
Well, why don't we do something after lunch?
Well, I'm thinking if you really want to be there and you got a job, you could say, hey, can I get off an hour early?
Okay.
If I work till 5, can I get off at 4 to go to that meeting?
Okay.
I'm just spitballing here, but I just think,
Thoughts?
I'm okay with that.
I think it's really important that we get John Herzog to church as often as possible.
So, a 4 PM meeting, would that accommodate your needs?
yeah, for sure.
Okay. Jay, are you good with a 4 PM Thursday meeting?
I am.
All right, then, I would be willing to make that adjustment, 4 PM on Thursdays. We'll keep the Thursday and we'll just move it to 4 PM.
I think it'll work.
We agreed we wouldn't call on individuals, but as soon as we'll get with you, Matt. Yes.
I've received some input as well that I have to go back to share.
Okay.
The reason I need to go to church is to pray for our county council, so.
Well, we didn't have this on as an agenda item for anybody to be able to fill out a public speaker slip for, so
We didn't.
it's your call.
Thank you, Commissioner Toast.
Yeah.
Matt, do you want to step up to the podium and give us your feedback on the input you've got?
He did it, not me. Matt Hall, local newspaper. I've received input from individuals that have told me that they have children that are at scholastic events, athletic events on these evenings, and so they are precluded from attending at the 6 o'clock time. I just thought that should be noted. During this time, people at 6 o'clock, etc., people are just getting home. It would be a rush to be able to get someplace. They do have plans, and their children have plans as well. And this is pretty important for them. But like I said, I've had enough people come up to me and mention this, so I thought I would share.
Thanks,
All right,
Matt.
thank you. So 4 PM?
4 PM.
We'll go there. If we have to move it again, we
Yeah.
will. We'll
Yeah, we can.
continue to be flexible and meet the needs of the community.
Sure.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You bet. All right,
Public hearing.
public hearing.
Let's see, public hearing, the petition for annexation was filed by Jonathan and Rochelle Moon on January 31st, 2024 regarding the annexation of the parcel of land located at 94280 Agate Way, Gold Beach, into the Ophir Rural Fire Protection District. In accordance with Oregon law, the board must now hold a hearing regarding the merits of the petition and make a determination as to its approval. Oh, sorry about that. We have, as county council has no objection to it.
Okay. I have no objection. I know Mr. Moon is here. I'd like to see
No,
this
I was just
resolved.
thinking, so, because it seems like it's right between Wedderburn and Ophir, is that and you're like, there's nobody, you're not covered, or?
They just, I contacted,
You'll need to step up to the
sorry.
podium.
yeah, so I was just told that I needed to contact the Ophir Fire District, and they said that I was within their area,
Okay,
and so they told me I needed to go through this process.
perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moon.
For further discussion,
Nope.
anything? All right.
I am good to approve the annexation.
But for public hearing, does it have to go on for a while, or?
Is there a second
I don't
reading?
believe so. I think we're good.
Okay.
Rabia, this is it, right? Yeah,
Okay.
no, there was no outright, armed rebellion. I think it's really important that everybody have coverage, and it's integral to be able to get one of these districts to be able to cover you, so I'm glad that we're able to accommodate you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, Ted, how do we just approve the board order for
I think you
BOC
just make a motion
annexation?
to approve the board order.
Okay, so I'll move to approve the BOC annexation number 24-01 regarding the Moon property.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? None? And all in favor say yes?
Yes.
And yes, motion passes 3-0. And next up is surveyor fees.
So our county surveyor, Scott Fine, who has been with us now for several months, he hit the ground running, came in, he's been working with staff and reorganizing the surveyor's office, there's a lot to do down there. They're making great headway. But in the meantime, Scott serves as the surveyor for, I believe it's Jackson County as well. And he took a look at our fees and noticed that a lot of what was going on just wasn't cost effective for the county. We're actually paying, we're paying the surveyors, not prior to him, we're contracting these services. And to do county required surveyors, the fees we were charging were not compensated. We were losing on every one. So he brought them, he went through the fee schedule and he brought it up to date, and you can see that that's on the last page of the attachment. And I would recommend that that these be approved.
I'll make a motion to approve these fees.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say yes.
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 And yes, motion passes 3-0. And now we'll move to elected official updates. I see one elected official here this evening. Dave?
Good evening. Thank you, Dave Barnes, Treasurer. That was a pretty interesting presentation by Patrick from CoFi. A lot of the stuff in the financial stuff and my records and the finance department records have an expiration date on them. They only have to, most of it only has to be saved for 7 years. But when Patrick comes to town, I was wondering if Ted and myself and Keena could get together and speak to him about doing the same thing for the financial records that we currently have. In the various portions of the basement have boxes and boxes of financial records down in what we call the dungeon. So I don't know what the cost would be on it, but I would like to just open that door when he's here and maybe get a proposal from him.
It certainly is distressing when we have nothing to go on, yeah. It'd be great to.
The computer crash was a big eye-opener, you know. Starting back from clean slate, tabula rasa was an interesting way to go. So, you know, just a thought when he comes around, if we could get put on his list to meet with.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, thank you. That was all I had. Oh, I think you need to close the public comment.
Oh, public hearing?
Do we need to do that, Ted? Close the public?
Yeah, you better close the public comment. I mean,
Public hearing.
public
All
hearing.
right, and we will close the public hearing. Thank you. We need a script on those public hearings, Ted and Natasha.
Yes, you're right.
And Rabia,
I think it was Rabia.
I think so.
We can always blame Rabia. All right, I don't see any other elected officials here, so now commissioner updates.
So I noticed that I'm at the top now. And so I will start off. So it's come to my attention on these meetings, when we had our BOC meetings, that the parking outside the courthouse and Annex building are very limited. And it was asked that maybe, so right here is 4 vehicles. And they're not little vehicles. We take up probably 5 or 6. If we could park so the public could have closer parking. And I said, yeah, I can bring that to the, so I know I'm parked right out here, and we could actually park across the street in the, you know, like the sheriff's, because he's not here, especially on these night meetings.
We can park in a spot.
Yeah,
I think you did that a while ago. I don't think that was too well received.
I know, and I enjoyed that. That was, yeah. Making him
I, for
sweat.
one, won't be doing that.
Yeah, judges, DA.
Okay.
There.
Noted. Noted.
I'll park in John's spot. I'm not afraid of no ghosts. The other thing I wanted to bring up is it just seems like the last week and months it's camping on county roads. I
don't know if I'd call it camping, John.
Camping is-
I'd call it living.
And it's really, so today I was in Port Orford for a meeting, and after the meeting I been made aware, and I think we all have, there's a lady living in a Jeep up Sixes River, 4 miles up the river, right by Edson Creek. Lived in her car for 4 years. Has a dog. There's a fifth wheel there. I took pictures, walked around. It's just sad, and she's got a sad story. But still, the gist of it is the folks that are bringing this to our attention, they want their county back the way it was. And then there's an old timer in Brookings, Dale Hoy, who, you know, he lives up the river, and it's a mess. There's camping, there's RVs. They're right on the riverbank, above the water, and you know those vehicles don't move. And we all know what we do every day. How many times we go to the restroom, and it's just,
Well,
what do we do? How do
so
we fix it?
I would say that you know we don't have to go in depth in the problem. I think everybody in here can probably recognize some of the issues that are occurring. And, it was not long ago, maybe couple months ago, Director Fitzgerald, myself, went and met with, we had a meeting with OSP, ODOT, and State Parks in regards to the camping along the state byways here, the 101, after coming and seeing 32 RVs camped along the road on a Sunday night. And so, there is a protocol. It's, but I think what it's truly gonna require is a larger collective group discussing this. It may be something that Lipsick may want to take on at some point. But we also, in identifying the problem, we also have to propose the answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think that's where the collective group can help to impose that. And, and then also, if we can have consistent and similar parameters in which it's enforced, right? Because ODOT has its rule, City of Brookings has a different rule, right? The county has its own rule, and I think we need to become linear so that regardless of what law enforcement jurisdiction you come from, you know the rule.
You just don't
Right?
move from one, yeah.
I mean, we need to bring everyone to the same table, and we need to identify this problem, and then we need to be able to provide some type of a solution that everybody agrees upon.
I think it needs to be a unified response.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get to.
When we're talking about, we have all these different jurisdictions and they're all separate agencies. And so
Yes.
they're all kind of like their own different fiefdom within the county. The other day, a commissioner in this room who had been, shaking the tree, got his wish, and an RV was moved from up on Carpenterville, up off Carpenterville, it was on private ground. And
Now it's on-
that commissioner had gone out of his way for, a voter, maybe one vote. And that, he got a response, and that RV is now parked
On Carpenterville Road.
driveway, blocking somebody else's driveway on Carpenterville, which is an ODOT. And now in a situation like that, if ODOT, and I can't remember the exact rule, but if ODOT doesn't notify, basically mark that tag that vehicle within a very short amount of time, they can stay for something of some, I can't remember how
12
many
years?
days. No, 17 days or something like that. It's a fairly long time. And but they have to, I think they have to get to them within 24 hours. And so, you can't be expecting every agency to be on top of everything, but we could if we had an organized,
Yep.
if we all were working together. And I think that's where I'd like to see us go, so that we could all be coordinating and maybe if different agencies could act on that other agency's behalf. So you're driving along and you see that somebody's just setting up shop, you can pull in and serve notice on them and save maybe an ODOT truck having to drive 2 hours round trip to go to get that same job done when they've already got a schedule of emergencies in the middle of winter that they're trying to respond to. But I think what we need to do there is continue with that reaching out to try to form that group.
Well, Lipsick is the place to discuss that.
It's a good.
That's the environment.
It's a great start. I mean, we have the ability to convene a meeting that we can call those people in, and we can have a formal meeting. But it would be, I think that the key piece is Lipsick would be able to provide a lot of the uniformity in which a lot of this is going to be addressed. Now, further solutions, right, are going to come on us. We got to figure out that, okay, it's been addressed, now what, right? Do we have a place to go? Do we have a place to take them? Right, all those things that come in line with the next step after the enforcement. So, which I think is a bit of the hurdle, ODOT has tagged almost every one of those rigs, but they're having a hard time enforcing it at this point. At least it's what's conveyed to us, because they don't know what to do with it once they have to enforce it. And that, I think, is where we can step in and help
Yeah.
maybe solve that
I
problem.
don't think the lipstick agenda is out yet, so maybe we can get that on there as a starting point for our
But
discussion.
good points.
So a concerned citizen I are going to attack, so that little camping spot that they have right on the, just past East Harris Heights, so Arch Seacrest, that turnout, and it is cleaned up. I've cleaned it up a couple times, but if you go back in the woods, we're thinking it's gotta be maybe 4 dumpsters. So this guy called me and I said, hey, I'll help you when it gets nice, or we're maybe even tomorrow afternoon, I'm gonna get the county, dump trailer, and we'll just pick, cause they have got it going back probably 300 feet, 100 yards, just back into that brush. And that's county property, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, but
You have to look.
it's gonna get picked up. So,
Yeah, I don't know if that's county property or not.
Just make
he
sure.
said it was, he checked or something, and,
I would just confirm.
okay.
Just confirm. We're not going on.
Harris Heights, where I believe
Going
we
on.
just gave quite a bit of property to the city.
We did recently. So, and it may not be transferred over in GIS to where it would be,
Yeah.
you'd see that. Okay.
I wouldn't be so opposed to the camping if it wasn't such a mess.
It's living.
It's not camping.
It's not camping, I know it.
It's not camping, not at all.
I'm done, sir, thanks.
That's it?
Yep.
All right. Jay?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think first and foremost, I want to just quickly address some of the, one of the comments that was made earlier today, and that was directed at our Director of Operations. I want to make it known to the public that our Director of Operations is working at the direction of the Board of Commissioners. So if you have quarrels with what is occurring and how we're operating, that needs to be directed towards us. We are the ones responsible for that outcome. So, there hasn't been anything that we have done or moved forward with that wasn't approved at a commissioner level. So, no need to attack the individuals who are performing the work. Secondly, I don't know if you guys received this as well. I kind of do the land use stuff, but right now at the federal level, they're discussing some funds for our watersheds. You may have received an email about this. Jackson County just wrote a letter of support for additional funding for that Coal Rivers hatchery up the Rogue. I didn't know if this group felt you wanted to follow suit with Jackson County in writing a letter of support to Senator Wyden, Bentz, and Merkley to help continue fund the work that's being done up the Coal River hatchery.
I would,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
because that's the same river that it empties into the ocean right here.
Yeah, we live off that river as well, so.
Yep.
If that is the consensus, then we'll put together, I'll work with Ted, we'll put together a letter, and get that sent off.
Very good.
And it's been a long meeting, so I think I'll leave it at that.
All right, I have a couple things. The first thing I want to talk about in my update is cybersecurity, and I want to acknowledge that the great work that Phil Dixon is doing, our Chief Information Officer, and the protocols, the procedures, the things that he has implemented in cybersecurity and protecting our system. And, I believe in extreme ownership. And today we had a test email go out, and I saw the email and it was suspicious. And I went to forward the email to Phil while I called him, and immediately got, and in fact, Phil just sent me a message, immediately triggered a training email to come up. And it's just a really good reflection of how sensitive all of that is, and how important it is to continue to pay attention to that. And it's kind of like a traffic accident, right? You see a horrific accident and you put your seatbelt on, you slow down, and you pay attention to all the rules of the road. And then the further you get away from the accident, the more lax you get, and you start looking at your cell phone again, and maybe you don't have your seatbelt on, and maybe you're not quite following the speed limit, and then next thing you know, you're in an accident. So I really appreciate the procedures that Phil's put in place, and they're working. And I clicked over to the training email that comes with it, and it was really clear and concise. It was about 3 or 4 minutes. Good.
You know how we know that those are working? You were the only county employee who clicked on that phishing
was.
email.
It was.
That's how we know it's working.
And I'll read this. It says, it looks like forwarding the message triggered the training email. And then it showed the attachment. So, and Phil was very kind and said I didn't do anything wrong, but if I triggered the training email, I did do something wrong, and I own that. That's my mistake.
So you shouldn't even forward.
Shouldn't even forward it.
Yeah.
And
So I didn't, I guess. Did I get this same email?
I think it went
may not have gotten
randomly.
yet.
I might.
It went out
Thanks
randomly.
for the heads
to,
up. Okay.
Yeah, it went out randomly to I don't know, 70 or so people.
Okay.
But like I said, when I forwarded it to Phil, I called him, and then Phil came down, and we were actually talking about having some even more precise protocols to follow when you see something suspicious like that. But
What I've noticed, Brad, is it's getting so sophisticated with this AI.
it is.
You remember how they used to look goofy? They have something wrong.
Yeah, they're pretty dialed in now.
They're not something wrong anymore.
But Phil and his team are doing a great job.
Yep,
And
agreed.
I wanted to take a minute and recognize that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the proposed levy for public safety.
Real quick, before you get into
Go
that,
ahead.
there was one more thing regarding land use, but I don't want it to go, I don't want it to be the last thing said. I want what you're probably going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
So the other thing that recently came out since our last meeting was BOEM's, the federal decision to move forward
Yeah, the windmills.
with the offshore wind harvesting. And so I just wanted to make it known that we adamantly opposed the offshore wind harvesting. The federal government has decided to move forward with the next portion of selling the leases off of our coast, which is approximately 198,000 acres. And so the call areas, I guess is what they lease the call areas. And it's really unfortunate that that the federal government and BOEM did not heed our concerns. That they did not, they claim to have taken them. However, it was overwhelmingly noted that our community, along with our sister counties north of us, were not in favor of this project, and it is it's not we're not done, and this is the beginning of the next stage, and I think it's something that we definitely have to keep our eye on, because just as you said, after you've had that traffic accident, this is a 10-year process. They'll be discussing this when we're not here, and the groundwork that we put in is going to be really beneficial or detrimental, depending on how much we get done, to whoever is coming in, after us to work on this project. And so, it was really interesting news to learn. I'm sure as you guys read it at the same time I did. We weren't giving any other notice than the public got, and I think it's a fight worth continuing to at least voice our opinions and push back on best we can. So.
And just to follow up on your comment, just so the public knows, I did make a phone call to Commissioner Taylor in Coos County and had a discussion about the windmills and exactly what you just brought up, Jay. And in my conversation with Commissioner Taylor, they also adamantly oppose the windmills and are fighting against it. And our discussion was about unifying that voice, unifying those positions, and he is definitely in favor of that. So that will be something I continue to follow up on with Commissioner Taylor and Coos County. And we're going to do what we have to do. I mean, that is a huge mistake for this county, and we will continue to adamantly fight against it.
I mean, you know, Ted, you've been around here and you've dealt with a lot of the land use issues, especially when it comes to timber. And I can't imagine this being dealt with in much different regard. But these call areas are basically giant squares, right? That they're provided the rights to this area. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. They're provided rights to this area, and a lot of times in our minds we figure, oh, there'll be a windmill in that square. Maybe it's an acre-sized square. Yes, but they also what I think is not being fully realized is that lease goes to the ocean floor, right? That lease goes from the ocean floor up, and I think we have to assume that when you have an acre square lease area or call area, and there's 198,000 of those off our coastline, off our shore, they're going to protect the square, not just the windmill. And that is going to essentially create a giant no-go zone right in the middle of all of our industry, our fishing, it's not going to be like, oh yeah, you can go through. They're not going to allow that.
Right. No,
There's
I
going to
don't
be a protected space, and then there's going to be other rules around airspace, and then people are going to get injured. Habitat is going. We all know all of the outputs, and so I want to make it clear that like the threat being posed.
We actually don't know all the outcomes.
We don't.
There's a lot of unknowns, and
it's completely experimental.
right, to be moving forward at this point with so little knowledge is
It's
unconscionable.
it's been documented to have been failed on the East Coast. Now we're going to be looking at trying to do it in rougher waters, more difficult terrain, right? There's no sense being made here.
Right.
Except for the outcomes of the companies that are going to be paid to put these things in, because I don't see it benefiting anything further.
No,
And below us too, in Eureka. I mean, it's not even going to benefit, it wouldn't even benefit us.
There'd
Maybe a slight benefit, but the economic development will be in California, Northern California.
Well, I think I could be speaking out of turn, but we don't know. But I think it would be somewhat safe to go into the idea that there will not be enough energy collection to offset the cost of what it will cost to run those things, replace those things, upkeep those things, and so it is a net cost to the taxpayer regardless to bring that inefficiency to our area. So anyways, I just now get to
Real quick on that though.
Go ahead,
So
Tom.
Val said, our public information officer sent me an email, or a text. She said, everyone can comment on the call area proposal again. It's on the Bowen website. And she could post that if BOC would like for people to have the link.
yes, please.
Yeah, that'd be
Please,
great.
Val.
Yes, please.
That'd be great. The other thing that continues to be ignored by BOEM is the people of Curry County don't want this. They don't want it.
No.
And we get nothing from it. There is no benefit to this county that has ever been explained. And you don't need to, I think you used the word assume that there'll be a restriction. When I went to those meetings, it was pretty clear to me, they're not letting anybody near there.
Right.
There will be restrictions, prohibitions on that. So, it's all bad for this county. And we will continue to fight, and we will unify our voice with Coos County. Commissioner Taylor was very supportive of that, and is very active and engaged in the fight as well. So that will continue. Anything else, Jay? No. So I just wanted to make a comment about the proposed funding solution that we're putting forward for public safety regarding the levy. And I've had some questions about some of the specifics related to it, what the ballot language is, that kind of stuff. We have just completed that process, submitted it to the clerk. So I think, Ted, if that is wrapped up, we can get that to our public information officer and put that information out so the public can be aware of that.
We'd like to get it to our local newspaper reporter.
Right, it's good, it will be in the newspaper, but there has been some requests from the public for more detailed information about that. Of course, you can call any of us and discuss it, but we will, we'll be putting that information out here in the very near future, now that we've got that completed and submitted to the clerk.
Would you like me to read it?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. So this is the ballot language that we had submitted to the state. So this is the wordage. Is that a word? This is the verbiage.
Wordage.
Wow.
Seriously.
Due to the state of county finances, the Curry County Sheriff's Office is currently limited to operating on a day and swing shift only. Passage of this law enforcement levy for $2.23 tax per 100 or per 1,000 of assessed value, estimated to raise $8,306,430 annually, will improve all aspects of public safety, including but not limited to the addition of new patrol deputies to ensure countywide 24-hour service, improved response times, and enhanced jail services for both county and city arrests for the next 5 years. This will also prevent any reduction in the current levels of public safety services. Upon passage of this levy, a 7-member review board comprised of Curry County citizens will be appointed to oversee the use of the levy funds and ensure that they are spent in accordance with this measure to fund public safety. The estimated tax cost for this measure is an estimate only based on the best information available from the county assessor at the time of the estimate and may reflect the impact of early payment discount compression and the collection rate. So that will be
Yep, and we'll put that information out.
ballot language.
And it will be in the newspaper, and I'm sure there'll be quite a few discussion opportunities in the future. So, and the last thing I was gonna address some of the comments that Nancy made this evening in her written and verbal presentation, but there's some misinformation in some of what Nancy presented. So I think what I'm going to do is just give her a call tomorrow and see if I can maybe clarify some of the actual information, and then that might give her a chance. Maybe she'd like to come back after she has that info and discuss it then. But I'll just give Nancy a call. I've spoke to her a couple times.
I would like to point out on that topic that one of the other positions that I have had, which I did not covet and did not want, but was forced to take, is now being occupied by Keena Wolf, our new finance director. And we are very happy to have her, and she's moving forward on many fronts. It's been an exciting week.
Yeah.
Agreed. Welcome.
Welcome.
To the team, Keena.
I stood on her desk today and replaced her bulbs, light bulbs,
Yep.
so she can see.
And thanks for coming tonight, Keena. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anything else? John?
I'm good, sir.
All right, then we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Can you please not stand on the desk?